Good morning, everyone. Well, as I'm recording this is the day after the U.S. entered the war with Iran. They used their B-2 stealth bomber to drop bunker busters, weapons that the Israeli army does not possess, because they don't have a plane big enough to carry them. Our multi-billion-dollar B-2s could carry them. And they did a ruse on that, which was funny. I posted yesterday where they had launched some, and they were heading over to Guam. Those were a diversion. While you're watching those, the other ones came in and attacked that were already over in the area. When did they get there? We don't know. They're stealth bombers. Okay, Iran's pissed. They're mouthing off, we're going to destroy the world now. We don't give a bat about anybody. We're just going to just start attacking everybody that we don't like. They do that all the time. They launched a number of missiles back at Israel again. But again, a small number. They are at the end of their rope and they're basically barking at us. They only hit the nuclear sites. But now their Navy is gearing up. They said they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz and the Houthis are going to help out. They don't get it. They are delusional in thinking that God wants them to do this. Totally delusional. So, is Israel or the United States going to use a nuke on them? I don't think so. But I think that they've still got something up their sleeve. I believe they probably have enough material. Remember, was it Obama sold them uranium? Let's see, there was a succession of 3 things happening by the Democrats. They were given some money, they were given some uranium, and then their $16 billion debt was unfrozen. So they basically said, here, go build your nuclear weapon and destroy the world because that's what we want. That's essentially what the Democrats were doing. Part of the harlot system, wanting to eliminate 80% of the people. They believe it's easier to manage. Satan thinks it's a good start. Get rid of 80%, then I only have to get rid of 20%. He wants mankind removed. There's no way God can win now because God has a future for man. If Satan can eliminate mankind, he wins. He thinks. Okay, well, first off, God doesn't allow him to do that. Kitty, get down. You're seeing Kitty here, but he's being rambunctious, so I'm not going to bring him over here. So he's here. Let's see if I can get him peaceably in a little bit here. Okay, so I think they have enough material for a nuke. I have a feeling that they had already started. Now, the problem that they've got is their main nuclear scientists were all killed in one night attack. They were all sleeping, and Israel attacked them at night and killed them all. They still have secondary people that may or may not know how to put the bomb together. My suspicion is they don't know completely how to do it, but they think they do. Which means they're going to try to assemble some bombs. You got to have more than one. When we dropped ours on Japan, we had to use 2. The first one didn't faze them. It's like, oh, you can't do this again. So we did. At which point, they didn't know we couldn't do it again after that. We only had 2 complete bombs. We had enough to put together a 3rd one if we needed it, but didn't need it. They surrendered. And that's what we got to get out of Ayatollah. He has to surrender. No more, let's negotiate. And they're calling for negotiations again. No. They lie. This is evil. And their purpose is to kill people, so they need to be eliminated. The people of Iran try to fight back, but all they do is disappear and never seen again if they challenge them. Better off that they don't have the internet right now because somebody's liable to say something and that would get them in trouble. So there are two places in the Bible that it talks about being laid to waste and nobody ever living there again. One of them is Edom. So we're going to look at that. The other is Damascus, but that's perhaps in a later war. But right now, Edom, which is West Iran, that's on the coast. That's where their nuclear plants are. Now, is it possible that the nuclear plants are going to blow up? I think they pretty well protected them, but I think, and they haven't, Israel hasn't blown them up yet, because that would cut the power off to the people. Anything that they can do to disrupt the government is what they're doing. And all military targets, police targets, are all subject to attack. But anyhow, there's a couple of verses in the Bible that lead us to think. Remember, they didn't have nuclear weapons back then. They didn't have cars, planes, cell phones, all of our technology. They didn't know anything about it. So they used descriptive terms. So turn with me to Zechariah 14:12. This is the plague with which the Lord will strike all the nations that fought against Jerusalem. Now, Israel is pretty much has one attacker, and that's Iran. All the other proxies were working for Iran. So that might be that Iran is the one that needs to get this. Their flesh will rot while they are still standing on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets, and their tongues will rot in their mouths. Do you remember some of the stories? I don't know if you studied history or if you're old enough to. We're not really old enough, that's the 40s, to have been there. Our parents maybe, but not us. Describing the symptoms of radiation sickness. Heavy-duty radiation sickness. If you lived through the blast and got the heavy dose of radiation, your skin was literally falling off the bones. You were doomed. You were not going to survive, and you were going to have a miserable existence until you died. There's no cure for it. You've basically destroyed the body, and it's just going to deteriorate. Kitty, he's up on top of the refrigerator trying to get in the cabinets. You can't get in those because those hinges work. They've got hinges that are compression hinges that lock it closed. Kitty! Kitty! Sorry. He was starting to pull on the curtain. He hasn't run the curtain next to me, but he accelerated its demise. It was already falling apart, and he grabbed one of the strings and pulled on it, and now it won't open and close right, but it was already on its last leg. I already had to clip it up to hold it up. So anyhow, Zechariah 14:13. On that day, people will be stricken by the Lord with great panic. They will seize each other by the hand and attack one another. Now, again, we remember the Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Hiroshima was the original first target. Nagasaki was not the second target. But the first target was overcast. They couldn't see anything. So Nagasaki got picked. Luck, provincial guidance, whatever the reason, they picked Nagasaki. And those bombs are babies compared to what we've got today. They were physically large because they didn't have the technology condensed down like they've got now. But they were babies as far as TNT tonnage. They compare it to TNT because that's only something that we can recognize. Nuclear power is not something we recognize. Okay, so let's turn to, so you can see it's describing what we believe to possibly be a nuclear reaction. Isaiah 34:8. For the Lord has a day of vengeance, a year of retribution, to uphold Zion's cause. Edom's streams will be turned into pitch. Streams, water, will be turned into pitch. It will dry up and be molten. Her dust into burning sulfur. Her land will become blazing pitch. It will not be quenched night or day. Its smoke will rise forever. This doesn't sound like a Sodom and Gomorrah attack. From generation to generation, it will lie desolate. No one will ever pass through it again. Either their nuclear plants are going to be destroyed, or they could have an underground place there where they're building a bomb, and maybe they get it together. And someone goes, "What's this switch do?" Boom. I'm joking a little bit on that, but I think that that's a possibility that they will get it assembled but not know how to maintain it or move it properly, and it will go off. If it does, it will end their nuclear program because it will wipe out everybody below. It's possible they've got hidden compartments and tunnels all over. Just look what they did in Gaza. Hundreds of miles of tunnels. They've been preparing for a long time. And they're doing the same thing, I'm sure, in Iran, the mother of the tunnels. So it's a possibility that they will have one of their nukes go off and take out all the other ones. That would be the best scenario. The worst case scenario is they get it above ground and have it go off, and then the fallout rain, depending on the prevailing winds, north, potentially west. With the Gulf there, the airflow is going to be primarily north, which would take it perhaps into Jordan, which wouldn't be a good, or into Iraq. Iraq is kind of this way, and then Jordan's over here. It depends on which way the wind's blowing. So they're talking in Iran like someone who's frightened. We're going to wipe out everybody. The United States, not a soul is safe anywhere. We're going to attack Americans everywhere. And we're on alert, high alert. They're getting ready to bring out their Navy and their wooden swords and wooden shields and their pirate hats and arr! Their Navy's a joke. They have F-14s, Tomcats. Those were destroyed on the ground, most of them. They may have some underground that we don't know about, but our F-35s can run circles around an F-14. So they're talking big, which means they're in trouble. So that means they're desperate. I just saw a bomb explode. Pictures of it on Amir had it up on his site. And it looked like there was orange gas around it. Mustard gas. Let's hope it's not what it is, but in desperation, they could do anything. And if they're still launching and we're still trying to protect the civilian population, they could be doing anything and then launching them from schools or whatever. We've seen Gaza. We've seen how they behaved. Where do you think they got those tactics from? Iran. We need to basically stay until Iran, the government of Iran, totally surrenders. And then we're stuck with a dilemma. We haven't been really good about picking good people to put in. I can guarantee you, you don't want a Shiite in there, you want a Sunni. Iran is mostly Shiite, so I don't know if you could find an acceptable Sunni to them. Is it time for the Antichrist? Absolutely. They're looking for him. I told you I would read some more out of the Quran, and I'm working on some verses. Jesus is in the Quran. They know who Jesus was. They just don't know who he is. They believe he's a prophet, but that's it. not the Son of God, not in heaven, ready to come down and destroy them. They think when he comes back, they believe he's in heaven because he's dead. When he comes back, because there's heaven in Islam too. It's just all their stuff is copycat. They believe when he comes back, Jesus, he's going to help them to take over the world. And they're already doing a good job because they're Satan's religion. Okay, so will there be a nuclear bomb go off in Iran? I'd say yes. In Edom. Or their nuclear plants will explode, causing radiation, making the land uninhabitable. That has to be a fairly catastrophic. Our anti-nuclear power people have been threatening that kind of stuff for years, and it's never happened. Even 3 Mile Island didn't totally make the land uninhabitable. You can go on tours to 3 Mile Island. You can't stay long, but you can go on tours because there is background radiation. It's not very high now, but you can't live in it all day long. So you want to go on a tour, take a bus. I don't know, do they use the same bus and have to wash it off? I don't know. If you've ever been on that, let me know. Why would you want to go? Other than to see all these unoccupied towns where nobody lives. Because nobody can go back. You can't go back and get your stuff because it's all radioactive. But that was a worst case scenario. And we shouldn't have that kind of a problem anymore. I'm going to go off on a quick rabbit trail. Nuclear power, the way we use it, is relatively safe. We have the movie 3 Mile Island, where there's supposedly it's going to melt down until it hits the core and blow up, hits water level and blow up. It's not going to happen that way. That is a very rare possibility. Rare. Now we've seen where plants cannot think of everything. Mankind can't think of everything. Fukushima melted down because the tsunami came in, went over the banks, and flooded out all their generators. When they lost power because of the earthquake, the generators kicked in. They didn't expect to have a tsunami at the same time. You can't think of everything. But all that happened is that reactor is basically unusable anymore. You can't go into it. 2 types of reactors. The kind that we use, which use nuclear fission and are cooled by water. They run water through there, pull it out, that makes steam, and you can use it to power generators. In Europe, they use liquid sodium to cool the reactors. It's more efficient, it takes more heat out, but liquid sodium and water are extremely volatile, and that's the problem. And if you cannot stop the reaction for whatever reason, which is what happened in Fukushima, and they had problems with 3 Mile Island, and of course Chernobyl, if you cannot stop the reaction, it will produce heat beyond the capability of the containment. And then it will either blow its top, because there's going to be steam inside, or it's just going to melt through the containment, and then you can't stop it. It's still relatively safe. Now, I agree that California building them on faults, San Onofre over on the coast, it's where there's water. It's also where there's a major earthquake fault underneath it. I think that's dumb. There are plenty of places in the country that have minimal, if no earthquakes. That would be the better place to put these things. Put them there, and they go, well, what are you going to do with the nuclear waste? You put it in sealed containers and bury it deep inside of salt mines. You go, you can't put uranium back in the ground. That's where it came from. And this is spent uranium. It may not even be as highly reactive as what they took out of the ground. Uranium comes in two forms, pitchblende and carnotite, yellow cake. I've handled yellow cake in my hands because we didn't know any better. My dad had a uranium property as one of the mines that they managed. Low-grade stuff was all this one had. Fortunate. But it's not something you want to basically be involved in if you don't have to. Mining it, everybody had to, wear what they call a dosimeter. It's a little, basically it's a material. I had it when I worked at Stanford because their beam lines could be radioactive. And they'd have it checked once a month. They'd read it, and they never reset it. It's a material that absorbs radiation. If it got so much, you couldn't work anymore. I know I never got to that point. Anyhow, nuclear power is not something to be frightened about. They did all the science fiction movies where we have giant ants and all kinds of stuff because of the radiation. It's not going to happen that way. DNA is not that easily manipulated. It was created by God. Man, in their early belief system, thought that you could just manipulate the DNA and create anything you want. We have no clue how to do that. This is something God created. It's far too complicated. But anyhow, they scared a lot of people. They had, I remember one last little quick story. War of the Worlds, the original one. They had the spaceship there. It's all covered in dirt and it looks just like a big meteor. And the guy's Geiger counter's going off. He's going, that's radioactive. That's highly unusual. Well, how do you know it's highly unusual? Well, they hadn't found any meteors to date that were radioactive, but I bet there's some out there if we haven't found them by now. But in any case, someone says, it's radioactive. I wonder if we should get back. Duh. Yes, get back. Get everybody away. Set a cordon around it and don't let anybody inside that. And you better figure out where it's a safe distance. Bring in the nuclear scientists. All right. We know better now. Radioactive material is highly dangerous. And Edom is about to get their dose of it, one way or the other. Until we meet in the clouds, God bless.